From the Western Mass News studios in Springfield, this is Western Mass News Getting Answers with Dave Mattson.
Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Western Mass News Getting Answers. Every week I'm joined by federal, state, and local leaders and newsmakers to talk about the issues that impact you. This week we're getting answers from the 6th president of Bay Path University, Sandra Doran. Time permitting, we're going to focus on the impact of COVID-19 on the university itself, the challenges faced by small private colleges and universities, and how the university has diversified to keep competitive in a very competitive market. Sandra Doran, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, I think before we start off, you've been on the job for a little over a year now, for just to familiarize our audience with you and your background before you came to Bay Path.
Well, thank you. You know, Bay Path is such an innovative place. I've always watched it from afar, and to actually be part of the community is just, it's a dream come true. I come from a family of educators. My grandmother went to an all-women's college, Barnard. My mother returned to college as an adult learner, and my daughter went to an all-girls high school. So all of the populations we serve, and particularly women at the undergraduate level, men and women at the graduate level, it's a population that I deeply care about because of my own personal experience.
Sure. Education and law, I understand, too.
Education and law. I am a lawyer. Was professionally a lawyer for some time before I was attracted to higher education. I come from a line of lawyers. My great-grandfather was a lawyer during the Depression. But Dave, lawyers are educators. So it is just the perfect blend of being an educator as well as being a lawyer that led me to Bay Path.
So you kept all sides of your family happy, the ones who wanted you to go into law and the ones who wanted to go into education.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Now, you took the reins at Bay Path on July 1st, 2020, about 4 months into the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who would look at you and go, you must have been out of your mind. But, I mean, you were offered the job earlier in the year, but, I mean, what a tough time to take the reins of anything.
Well, it's such an interesting question because our mission at Bay Path is to provide careers, to empower women, to change lives, to provide a better future for all of our students. And that mission has not changed. And so COVID in some ways amplified our mission for us. We saw the impact of potential job loss, of some of our students struggling financially, of their parents, of their spouses. And so our mission became even more powerful and even more important to our students and our faculty and staff.
It's an interesting time to do that. You know, in your one of your first missions was to probably, obviously, to change how students were going to get their education that fall.
The first thing we did was we created a COVID command center. So you might remember, I was going to say this time last year, but it was actually in March and April, we first became aware of this virus. And so on campus, we created an interdisciplinary cross-university team to make ourselves safe and to become conversant with all of the acronyms that were now part of our lives, and to think about how are we going to keep our campus safe, our students, our faculty and staff. And so this interdisciplinary group, they met 3 times a week. In the beginning, there were at some points they met daily, and we were successful. We were very successful. So this year, back in July, we decided to mandate that all students, all staff, all faculty, anyone who's going to be on campus must be vaccinated. And then last week, we mandated masks inside. So we're paying very close attention to the CDC, to all of our neighboring towns. You know, our home is in Longmeadow, but we also have a home in East Longmeadow with our health sciences building. And so just a very top priority. I think one of the things that we've learned is, as a community, we need to manage through this. And so we're not going to be able to eradicate it, but what are we going to do to manage through it, to make sure that we're taking proper precautions?
What's the reaction been, faculty, staff, students, grads and undergrads, to these mandates?
Extremely popular. Yeah. We have almost 100% compliance. So we're feeling very good about our community.
You know, you look at this too, the COVID hit at a time where private colleges and universities, many were struggling. I mean, we know those who've lived around here all of our lives know that Bay Path has been really a model for small colleges and universities for a long time. As you look at the impact, going back, and maybe it's even too soon to look at the overall impact, but has the university been hit hard by this, or it sounds in many ways you've really been able to manage around it?
So we are very fortunate, and we've been very deliberate. So about 10 years ago, in conjunction with the federal government, through a federal government grant, we developed the first online program for adult women who wanted to return to college. As we know, a more traditional college doesn't fit in with everybody's life. And so it was very important to us that we be able to educate beyond just the 17 to 22-year-old. And so we developed the American Women's College, which you may have heard of. And that has been hugely successful and provided the foundation for us to be able to pivot during the pandemic. Dave, a really important point here is that because we've had more than 10 years to develop this program, we've been able to do it in a way that is student-centered. It is robust. We've been able to dedicate resources to faculty development. We have high-quality programs. So it really is distinguished from some other programs that simply went on Zoom, which is not a great experience. And we've heard that, from other students around the country talking about what has your experience been, during the pandemic, during your Zoom courses. Well, if you haven't invested the way we have in terms of our online courses, in terms of making sure our faculty are comfortable teaching, that they understand how to use the platform, that they're able to bring their expertise to students, whether they're online, on ground, a huge advantage for our students.
So while many businesses and other institutes of higher education were scrambling to put these things in place, basically you just looked at it and said, okay, we can expand what we already have.
Exactly. And we were able to serve our students almost without a hitch.
The good part of that too, I mean, as you look at the benefits of all this, being able to expand on it too, I would also imagine that there were many other colleges and universities around here to look to Bay Path and said, what can you tell us about what you did that we can put in place?
Exactly. We became a tremendous resource, not just locally, but across the country. We had other schools calling, women's colleges, other colleges, coeducational colleges calling and saying, help us be successful.
Yeah. If you look to, obviously, so many businesses and in other private colleges and universities have looked to state and federal funding to help them get through this. Has that helped you along too?
It has helped us. I think what has helped us even more is our relationship with federal agencies. Mm-hmm. So over the past, I'm going to say 7 to 10 years, we have received in excess of $10 million to build programs. And that's been the most important investment ever. It's been the recognition by these federal agencies, whether it's, FIPSI, NIH, whoever the granting agency is, and all these grants are really highly competitive, as you can imagine.
Sure.
And so it's been that investment that has been so affirming and has really helped us better serve our students and our community, Dave. So in the last 6 months, we've received almost $4.9 million for programs. So to bring our mental health counseling program into the community, to bring our physician's assistant clinical aspects into the community. These are the things that make us proud. I'm sorry, did I say 6 months? 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Quick turnaround.
Yes. Now, of course, many of those we've applied for over the course of the past year. So, and it takes the government a year because it's such a competitive process. So they're soliciting requests for proposals all across the country. And we're always very proud. And of course, Congressman Neal has been incredibly valuable to us. He's a huge supporter of Bay Path. He was on our campus announcing these grants just a couple of weeks ago. And so, just a relationship that we cherish.
We're going to talk more about those grants after we take a break, when we talk about some of Bay Path's programs that really set them apart from other small universities. When we come back. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. My guest this week is the president of Bay Path University, Sandra Doran. You know, on your first day as Bay Path's president, you launched the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Advisory Committee. Tell me what that is.
So diversity, equity, inclusion, we want to be a place where everyone is accepted, where everyone feels valued, where every perspective is embraced and heard. And during this time of the past year, it's become particularly important that we hear all voices, because we know the challenges that our nation is facing nationally, globally, but also right here at home. Sure. And so it was really important to me, particularly as a president who had not had the opportunity to build relationships, had not met our students, had not met our faculty and staff, that I have a really core group of individuals really invested in diversity, equity, inclusion, you know, who could advise me on a daily basis. Now, Bay Path, going back 5 years at least, has always had a diversity, equity, and inclusion council. And so over the course of the past 5 years, we've developed strategic plans around how to be a more inclusive community, how to be representative in everything that we do. So that work was already underway. But this smaller group of leaders, I really depended on to be the voice, because I didn't have access to the voice at the time.
That's true, because the president of the college, the university, is one element of it. It's who you have working for you, and you know, under your guidance, that really help put a lot of these things in place, isn't it? Exactly.
And you might remember last year was a tumultuous year in some ways, and so having this advisory group, you know, to help me understand how our students were thinking and feeling, how our faculty and staff were reacting to some of these events, and how we could be helpful. Because our role as a college, of course, is to help educate, to help with conversations. Sometimes they're difficult conversations, to help make a plan. And so that was the role of that group, was to really advise me, to help move the university forward. We heard from our students, and that helped us create our plan for the year, and it's going to help guide us going forward.
Sure, always looking ahead. Let's talk about that. You have a very ambitious strategic plan for Bay Path.
We do. We took this past year and really looked at our foundational elements. You know, what were our strengths? What were areas where we felt challenged? Where did we see opportunities? And so our entire community, in excess of 800 people, came together at different points over the past eight months or so and said, all right, how are we going to take those things that we're really strong at, take advantage of those opportunities, look for ways to differentiate? And we came up with 4 strategic elements that we think are absolutely fundamental to who we are, what will impact our students, you know, over the next 3 to 5 years.
We talked about this, touched on it really in the first segment, but I want to talk more about Bay Path's American Women's College, that first fully online degree program. You talked about expanding this even more, but let's talk about that a little bit.
So the roots of this American Women's College were actually in the one-day program, the Saturday program. So one of our populations that we want to serve and we enjoy serving are women, adult women who want to return to college to finish their degrees. Now we know that one of the most important value propositions of an education, a college education, is to advance in your career, whether it's to get that first job, whether it's to advance, whether it's to build your community, whether it's to support your family. That economic impact of a college degree on a woman and her community is absolutely central to our mission. So knowing that there were millions of women who have not been able to finish their degrees because of life circumstances, we said, you know, we're going to step in and be part of that solution, and that's what we did. So that one-day program was our first foray, hugely popular. You know, women really enjoyed the opportunity. They wanted to finish their education. They wanted a better life. And so we saw that as part of our mission. That one-day program where they actually came on campus then morphed into our premier online educational programs. So the same women who are having trouble finishing their degree were then having trouble coming to campus because of, you know, family obligations, church obligations, community obligations. And so offering them this opportunity they just embraced it.
And everyone's different, so obviously it's the beauty of a program like this is you're going to be able to fit this to your schedule and your lifestyle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we expanded it to our graduate programs. So over half of our graduate programs are now online. And we've got students from most states. I'm going to hesitate to say a number, but because people see the value of that. And,
Sure.
Particularly at the graduate level, when we've got working adults, they're not interested in the same sort of undergraduate collegiate experience. They're interested in a credential.
Exactly. Well, Bay Path recently, we talked about this a little bit too, 2 federal grants totaling almost $3 million in support of healthcare programs. How exactly is that money going to be used?
So half of the money, roughly, will be used to support our physician's assistant program. So we have one of the premier programs in the country. Our graduates are known regionally as well as nationally. Every graduate, walks right into a career, so we're extremely proud of that. And that is to support their clinicals within our underserved community. Mm-hmm. So a really important part of who we are, which is, not just educating, but also being part of our community and serving our community. The other grant is focused on mental health counseling and the clinical components of that. One of the things that we've seen, one of the trends as a result of COVID, but David, even preceded COVID, was the need for additional mental health counseling in our community. So that grant is a recognition of our expertise in the area of mental health counseling and the need for a partnership
Sure.
between our highly qualified students in our community.
Now, Bay Path is well known for its annual Women's Leadership Conference. It's been on hold for 2 years now, but I know it's going to return next April. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm. So April 1st is our return date. It will be our 25th anniversary, so we're really looking forward to that. You may know that Bay Path is celebrating our 125th anniversary this year. We were founded in 1897. So this is a very big milestone. Many colleges can't claim this, but our 125th, our 25th Women's Leadership Conference. And so, who comes to the conference? It's women in the region who are interested in professional development. They're interested in networking. They're interested in growing their knowledge base around really important issues and developing, developing teamwork.
Good to see you come back.
We couldn't be more pleased.
Always a big event. Well, when we come back after the break, we're going to also take a look at the future of Bay Path and remaining viable in a very competitive market. Stay with us. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. I'm pleased to be joined by this week by Sandra Doran, the president of Bay Path University in Longmeadow. I think so many people would wonder, how do you keep Bay Path viable at a time when many private colleges and universities are really struggling?
Dave, we have a history, almost 125-year history of reinvention, of adaptation. We began as a business and secretarial school way back when. And so over the course of these 125 years, not only have we changed our program, but we've changed our delivery modes. So now we have online as well as on ground. We started out as an undergraduate college when we moved from a secretarial school to an undergraduate, and now we offer graduate degrees. And in fact, graduate degrees are, 60% now of our student population. So we've been in the business of entrepreneurship and innovation and adaptation. So for us, it's just the next chapter.
It is. We talked to, many colleges and universities now are developing alliance with other similar schools. I think Bay Path has been doing that. Do you see more of that?
Right, we have been. So we already have strong relationships with our community colleges. So in our area, if someone has attended a community college and wants to go on with their educational journey, we've got easy pathways right to Bay Path. We see partnerships not just with other educational institutions, but we see partnerships with employers. We believe that is a competitive advantage if an employer is able to offer a tuition discount program, if they're able to offer a partnership with Bay Path to say, if you come to, work for me at company X, we will support you as you look to get your business degree or your master's in business administration. So we're looking not just to form partnerships with colleges and institutions, but to also amplify our partnerships with employers. We think it's really important for the workforce. We're very invested in workforce development. About 85% of our students come from the region, return home, work in Springfield and the surrounding areas, and so we want to be part of that solution.
And part of that is the college's reputation, that it's so well known to businesses in the Valley. It's like, well, you're a graduate of Bay Path, you're more likely to be hired.
Exactly. It's a reputation that we're proud of, but we work hard every day, Dave, for that reputation because we know how important it is to employers that their workforce base be well educated. And I think one thing about a Bay Path graduate is not only are they well educated in terms of the content, but they emerge being confident. They emerge having managed and worked in multicultural teams. Almost 40% of our students are either first generation, a diverse student body, and so that experience working in those kinds of teams really serves employers well.
Now, do you look for other ways to develop, diversify even, and develop Bay State's revenue? Because, I mean, that's always important. Tuition's one thing, but looking for other streams of revenue.
Exactly. So we're focused on grants because we feel that builds our programs and provides more opportunities for our students. This past year, we received, in addition, to the $2.9 million that you referenced, $3.9 million, we received a grant that acknowledged our student success programs, the fact that we're able to better serve our students in ways that others can't. In fact, it was only 1 of 10 in the country, where we recognized for this. So yes, we're looking to grow our student population through tuition. We're looking to grow through grants, and of course, we're looking to grow through fundraising.
What's your vision as you look at Bay Path 5 to 10 years down the road?
Our vision is based on our strategic plan. So we have 4 pillars, essentially, to our strategic plan. The first is we are really focused on student achievement and student success. Dave, one of the trends that we've seen over the last however many years is students going to college but not completing college. That does not serve a student well. They emerge with debt, without a credential, and it does not enhance their career prospects. So we are really focused on making sure that our students graduate. Secondly, we're making sure that we build and leverage our strengths around our programs. So health sciences, in 2000 and before even, we were developing state-of-the-art clinical mental health, physician's assistant, occupational therapy, genetic counseling. I mean, we have state-of-the-art science labs for our undergraduates. In fact, that's one thing that we hear from our students is when they go off into the work world, they come back, they say, our labs are more advanced than the labs. We've got, better microscopes, better this, better that. So, that's important, is to keep our reputation strong. The third thing that we're focused on is just making sure that our students have access to internships, that the career opportunities are strong. And then the fourth is making sure we have the investments to fund all these things. So it's a really exciting time at Bay Path, and I invite you to stop by.
I would love to, too. And the 125th anniversary celebration, what a great time.
Yes.
My thanks to Bay Path University President Sandra Doran for joining me for Western Mass News Getting Answers, and thank you for joining us, too. I'm Dave Mattson. Stay safe, stay well, and if you can, join us next week for Western Mass News Getting Answers.